All right. So when you're driving this unit, a lot of times leaving from station 3 here, we can get out on the hard ball or hard top or asphalt. On this over here, right above the key, cameraman, zoom in on this. It has 3 functions, and this one's lit up now. And if you can't remember, it shows you a diagram. These are the 2 little front wheels, and it has an open rear wheel and then one that's colored in. So what that means is basically a 1-wheel drive for this whole unit. And why that is important is that's what you want when you're on hard pack. You don't have, like with trucks or Jeeps or anything, you don't want to put 4-wheel drive low on asphalt. It can tear up your drivetrain. So when on hardball surfaces, drive it in this. When you get to where you're going to get off-road and soft soil, you can put it in. This one in the middle is just positive traction. The front end is still not locked, but both rear wheels are. If you do that on the hard, it would still drive okay, but it will tend to push. If you lock in the rear, it'll do it in the soft soil too. They tend to just push you straight when you're trying to turn. So really, if you're getting off-road, it's a little bit soft. You put it in this one here, means everything's locked. The front end's locked, the 2 rear axles are locked. You get all 6-wheel drive. With the weight that we have on this thing, and we're using it to fight fire, the best thing to do, it's still in neutral, and I'm not going to drive it, is to put this thing up one and have it shows you here, and it shows you a little diagram that it's locked in, all the wheels are locked. You want to use that to get off-road and get all the power out of this unit. It's kind of underpowered with the amount of weight that we have. So if you're going to work this unit and be off-road and need all the power it has, to not put a severe strain on the system, put it in low range, all-wheel drive. That's the way you want to use it on the ranges to fight fire. Obviously, to get there, running the roads, you can put it back in the 1-wheel drive, and you can run this all the way up to high. That's high range, like highway speeds. And obviously take this and there you go. That's the basic running. I'm gonna turn it off. You got a headlight switch. Okay. This unit does have some pretty good features. As I was crawling around looking, some people may or not know. It has disc brakes. The brakes for this axle are on these wheels. They actually have disc brakes on each side. Kind of some technology from like the military vehicle, heavy duty deuce and a halves, where they have a drive shaft brake. That's how the rear axle is stopped. It actually has a caliper and a disc mounted on the drive shaft, so that's pretty good. So that's. We got anybody else that's around? Any other questions you think I missed? We're going to get on the yeah. We're going to cover some. We have some overheating issues. We're going to cover that on a separate segment. Do you want to pause and go into this, or go right into? You take on this back here. Are you videoing me already? Really? Not yet. Because I'm about to admit that I'm a jackass, and I don't want to do that on video. You ready? All right. So we're going to continue this kind of separate segment on just the pump unit, because everything else was just Polaris and how they designed it. You can buy one of these rigs and use it and put whatever you want on the back. Agricultural, fire service. You may put a dog box if you was a K9 unit, whatever you want to do. Obviously, we're a fire department. We use these as wildland vehicles. But this whole unit here on the back of this, totally separate. Nothing that the motor and transmission does from Polaris drives any of this. You could put this same unit in the back of a regular pickup truck. But it's a condensed version. It has, obviously you can see the hose reel and nozzle that we use here. It has a tank of water. This is our water tank. It has a Honda, good engine. That is a V-twin engine, separate unit. So it's the battery for that. Everything is separate. It has a separate foam tank if we need to incorporate foam into our mix. Water fill is here. Foam here separate. This is the gas for the motor, nothing to do with this. It has, if we want to check, it has a little gauge, a little float gauge up there. If it'll get out of the way if you want to look at that. Okay.
Good, it's full. So good, it's full.
This hose reel, it has a manual handle you can stick in right here in case. It's actually the button for it's a powered, electric powered reel because we're really fat and lazy. Just kidding. You can just hit this nifty little button when we have all the hose. It'll reel it on back in if that goes down for some reason. Handles on the side here, zip tied. You hook it into this little slot. You start cranking, you can crank it on in. We carry chainsaws, which would be probably common for wildland firefighting. Okay, so the pump. Just like we check the oil, it's its own motor. We need to check the oil. Now, you remember I said I know you insult your intelligence on how to check oil, but I'm just gonna say it anyway, I don't care. Sometimes people think every time I check my oil, I have to pull the dipstick out and wipe it off and stick it back down in there. You do not. This thing has not been run yet, so whatever's on the dipstick right now, that's the oil level. And as you can see, you can tell where it has stopped pretty much right. It's been sitting there all night long. That's the oil level. That's the proper oil level. So the oil's good. We've already looked at the fuel. All right, we're going to crank this thing up. We're going to squirt a little water. So there's a couple different ways. This unit is a little bit different than our other one. You can choose if you want manual throttle, which would be this right here. This is your throttle. See the little rabbit and the turtle? You go up for fast, down, and of course you're gonna choke it if it's cold, and it is cold out here, and then that's the start. But here, you can have it in manual or auto throttle, and it is locked out. Well, it actually has a little keeper tab here. You can do that. Now what that's gonna do is, on auto throttle, when you open the bell, and this is what you need to know, when it is in auto throttle, don't mess around with just trying to gate it. Open it all the way up and you're gonna get all the pressure. It's gonna be wide open and this will be a lot of pressure. If you don't want that, put it on manual and you can control the pressure through the throttle here, manual throttle. So that one is just, we'll leave that in manual. That's the way it was. Now, to start it, it's pretty self-explanatory. It has a start and then it has water. So we're gonna start it. I'm gonna pull the choke. This is what's gonna tell us if it really, because this has not been pre-run, so it could probably make a liar out of us or make us look dumb. Leave it on about half choke for a minute. Hey, it worked. I'm as shocked as y'all are. We had checked this thing about 6 months. I'm just kidding. So I run about half choke. Sounds good. Can't beat the Honda. All right. Start right. Now I got fire. I got fire everywhere. Just kidding. So I got to use this. I'm gonna turn this. That's right there. Close. Open. Just making sure. Turn this too. Hear that? Alright. So I'm gonna squirt my buddies. Turn around, look at them. Are you still videoing? Turn around, look. Look. They running. Where y'all going? That's it, that's forward. Now, here's what's good about this. Come around here to the front. Come on, boys and girls. Look at this. This one has a bumper bumper wand. So you can be moving and putting out a fan. Now, come in here. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Get back in neutral. Ground sweep. I got this switch here. When I flip this, cameraman, go to the front. All right. Come on back here, we'll shut it down. You don't have to turn this back, but fighting with the pump unit. You have a winch on the back. Sometimes you might need to winch backwards. Anything else I missed? If you need to move the winch, which is in the back, come around here. It's a receiver hitch pull pin. You pull that out of there, you unplug it. See, this got a big 12-volt plug where the winch plugs in right there. Take that cap. This keeps dust and debris out of it. Slide the winch in here, put the pin in it, you plug it in right here, now you have your winch in the front. That's all I can think about. You good? Okay. All right. So we gave all of the general usage. We're going to cover. This will have some of my opinions. My opinions are based on being a huge enthusiast into the Polaris, specifically 800cc and all of the workings and how it works. I am not, for a disclaimer, a Polaris engineer. Don't claim to be. I am not a certified Polaris mechanic. I don't claim to be. But what I am, and why my opinions I think do matter, is I have personally a 2012 Ranger RZR 800. That 800cc engine is the same exact motor that's in this unit. So, and I do, because I'm not rich and I like to turn wrenches, I do all my own maintenance, all my own mechanic on my unit. Polaris came out with that Ranger RZR in 07, and I have been, when I'm into something as an enthusiast, I have been immersed in that, buying Dirt Wheel magazine, what's coming up next from Can-Am and Polaris. So I have been eat up with what this unit is. So why my opinion matters now is we have went the route that it has problems and we turn it into the motor pool. Well, those motor pool guys are small engine mechanics, and they have to know tons of various, they're not Polaris experts either. So my point is, we've been having problems with these units overheating. The way that we use that, and you're gonna hear that a lot. I'm gonna say, because I do like Polaris and believe in their products, and we're not nobody's sponsoring. I'm just a redneck at Redstone Arsenal who knows a little bit about Polaris 800 side-by-sides or UTVs. They have been overheating, and I got sidetracked. But that was my point. Is the way we use them. When I say that, that means it's not necessarily the way Polaris designed them. Honestly, I think the 800 is a little small. They make a 900 and a 1000. That's probably what we should have got. That pump unit and tank and all that on the back is a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight. So they're probably overweighted anyway. All of that's to try to make excuses for Polaris, and that the cooling system in our application does not keep the motor cool. So what it does as a fail-safe, when this thing gets, and they have a predetermined temperature, which is about 225 to 230. All that's displayed in digital readout on the dash. You can watch it. When it gets to that range, this thing becomes immobile. It goes into what they call limp mode. It will still move, but barely, and it does this jerking, surging thing. So, okay, big deal. Well, it's a big deal when we're on ranges fighting fire and we have fire coming at us. This thing has overheated and it won't get out of its own way. So basically you would just get off of it and run. But obviously that's, for our application, something we need to address. All right, having the background and being an enthusiast, after several failed attempts at going to the motor pool and them flushing it and cleaning it, I kind of got to looking at it and realizing it's not a maintenance issue. It's kind of a design. If this thing is used in normal circumstances, it's moving plenty of air. But if you look, and we'll cover some other things about how to get it out of limp mode temporarily. So, as I showed in the other video, the radiator is right here, and it's about this top of the radiator's here to about right here. So this is how wide the radiator is. The radiator obviously needs to bring in air to cool the coolant down to keep the engine cool. All right, it has to pull its air through this small strip right here, which by the way is protected by plastic. This is not metal, this is a piece of plastic. They have a winch mount on here now. There's also a control module that's in the way. So regardless of what your background is, to me as a layman or just common sense, it just doesn't look like from common sense that it can pull a lot of air. In our application, in the dust and the heat and the crap that it operates in, it stays pretty nasty, okay? If you try to be vigilant in rinsing these radiators, the only thing you can do is you can see, if you can see, camera guy, this is, the radiator is this big. This right here is the only strip you can get your hose into, and there's a control module in there that blocks that. So when we do try to rinse these radiators, if that were the problem, to help keep them cool better, you're only rinsing out a strip. So this much of the radiator is still packed full of crap, and they get, I mean, we got, you can see right here, stuff like that. These seeds, this grass, it just, and this is just in, you know, just in little pockets. That gets in there. So then what do? Keep sending it to them? No. So what I come up with, based on being an enthusiast from the four-wheeler and the mud ride and stuff, there are radiator relocation kits where they take the radiator, well, you can do it either way. Sometimes they mount up here, or it takes the radiator and its location and it mounts it up here. All right, these radiator relocation kits, they're made by industry. They're not some hillbillies fabbed up, looks good to me, zip tied crap. They are made with steel brackets. They're made with the longer hoses to provide. It's a full-on patent kit sold by High Lifter, which is out of Louisiana. They've been the mud ride, because the mud riding world has get the same problem. They put their units bogged down in mud, the radiator gets clogged full of mud, and then their machine overheats. So they came up with, well, why don't we get it out of from behind here and put it up here on the top? Well, then now it's more prone to getting sticks in it. You can put a hole. No, the kit comes better than this plastic, enclosed, encased in expanded metal steel cage. So it's in a steel cage. It's up here pulling in all this nice air. And the other thing is, not only is it pulling fresher, cleaner air from up here to the top, you can get to the whole radiator. If we need to rinse and service it, we don't have to work. We have serviced this. You have to take, it's torch head bolts, there's about 8 of them. We took the front fascia off of it. That's crap. We shouldn't have to do that every time to service it, and people are not going to be able to do that. Everybody's not, you know, inclined to be mechanically inclined. So that just, it makes a lot of sense. And the reason I'm explaining that is it's a fantastic idea, and some others had some different opinions and said it was a crap idea, but it's not. So anyway, so that's the solution for us. All right, I'm gonna pull this. This is another, here's a few ideas. They were not all my ideas. I'm gonna pull this seat up. Where is my assistant when I need him? Where did my assistants go? Grab that bottle of water wetter for me, please. It's on the shelf in here. It'll work out. See? Told you had to pop those. Okay. So, that was my ideas about bettering the cooling system. I think they're really, really overweighted. It puts a lot of strain on them. Plus, again, the atmosphere that we operate in is not normal. And the radiators are just, it's just a bad situation for these units. Okay, we'll just stay right where you're at. So when this thing goes in limp mode, and we had it happen on a standby, just driving to the standby on the road, by the time we got there, one of the units was already doing its limp mode crap, and it didn't want to do anything. And we hadn't even got started doing the service that we're supposed to provide for these ranges. So I kind of was aware, or I am aware of how this unit works. If you look right here, you see this is a radiator hose. This is where the radiator antifreeze coolant comes from. It looks like a thermostat housing, just like on a regular engine. Okay, this, and there's a wiring harness right here. That's where your sensor, where it picks up the temperature and tells the motor or the computer what our engine temp is. It's right under here. This thing was in limp mode and it wouldn't go. And it was showing about 225 on the dash up here. I took a bottle of water, and you can take your pocket knife or whatever and whittle out a little 1/8 inch hole. Or you can take we had the tanker, you can also do that too. I drizzled a little bit of water right here. Now focus this water stream on this. You don't want to soak an aluminum engine or any kind of metal that's super hot with cold water. You don't want that contrast and cause things to warp. So no, I'm not saying drown the motor in water, but if you focus a stream of water right here in this area, our temp went from 225 to about 170 in a matter of seconds, and then it's out of limp mode and we could actually use it. So that is not the fix. The permanent fix is just if you get in a situation and it's in limp mode and you really need to move it, pop the seat off, focus you some water right here in this area, not all over the motor, and it will drop the temperature here, and the sensor will read the proper temperature to make it be able to move. It won't move if it's still reading 230 degrees. So that's just the quick down and dirty worst case scenario. I need to move it, how you get that on there. Okay, so let me come around here. Other things that, just from being a gearhead, I was aware of this stuff. So we started trying to come up with moving the radiator up here in the top, fully enclosed and protected in steel, easy to maintain, better airflow would definitely help. Another guy thought, well, what if we maybe move this, and this is a foot, we don't normally ride 3 people anyway. This middle part is open. So, well, what if we put like an electric fan right here? Well, that would help, is be moving air across, and it actually straight across from where this is. That's not the problem, but it would. I think it would help. It's a good idea, and it's somewhat protected. You put it out here, you're still going to be pulling. It's in the compartment area, which is the better choice of air. That would be good. The other thing is, and I jumped all around, was there's several different products. Royal Purple makes some. VP, Hyperlube makes one, and they basically are called water wetters. And this one says it runs 30 degrees cooler and reduces the engine temperature 75 degrees. If that works like it says it does, really that's all we need, because we're only about 10 or 15 degrees outside of that range that they've set as their safe range. But we've got this in one of them already, and it does work. It's dropped at about 10 or 15 degrees. We went into the cooler months, so we really hadn't had a chance to see. The powers to be, most of them, agreed with the high lifter relocation kit, and if we can get that on here and try it on maybe one of the units and use it and see how that works, which I know it will work good. It's done been used in the, like I said, the mud riding world perfectly, and that will keep our overheating issues. And that's about it, I guess. Probably talked way longer than I need.